Hello, I'm Richard Lund. I'm on a journey to live a healthy 100 years. Why not come along? Today we're going to be looking at a letter, not written to me, but written to the New England Journal of Medicine. And it's because it's about comparing certain persistence of a virus we call SARS-CoV-2. It's the one that's giving us all this trouble with this COVID-19 disease. And they're comparing it to the SARS-CoV-1 virus, which came first in 2002. And they're comparing it in several ways, and we'll talk about them. And just to give you the quick report, please go to the New England Journal. This correspondence is available for free on March 17th, 2020, which is the day I'm recording this. And I want you to take a look at it for yourself. I'm not, a scientist, but I'm a person who enjoys science. I took some training in science when I was in college and got my bachelor's degree. So I'm a, person with just a little bit of knowledge, which can be dangerous at times. But I think there's some practical things that we could see in this journal article about how this virus behaves in the air to some extent, but also particularly on surfaces. And so I'd like to give you a little bit more information about it. Let me just switch to, this is the journal article that I printed out. And if you pull up, this is the data that they are presenting, which is excellent to have a look at. And if you'll notice that there are 5 different columns, and the one up here is for aerosols. The one here is for copper. So this would be how it behaves in the air. This is the surface of copper. The surface of cardboard, and we'll get to why that's important in a minute. Let's see, we have stainless steel and plastic. Now, cardboard, of course, could be a practical consideration if you're receiving a box from, a delivery service, or paper from a delivery service, maybe with your lunch. And you don't know who's actually handled that box or that paper. So if you're going to have your food delivered and it comes in a carton or a bag or some kind of thing like that, if it's made out of paper, it's going to have a certain characteristic of persistence where it becomes noticeable, measurable, where you can see that it still has activity biologically. I'm not going to call it alive. I'm just going to say it has some biological activity. And that means danger to you and danger to me. And then remember, we had plastic, the other end. So if you got a plastic bag with a bag of food, that plastic bag could also have some viruses on it. So that'd be something to think about. And you might want to handle that with kid gloves, but actually it would be gloves that would protect your hands, or handle it with your hands, but then immediately go and wash your hands and tear open the bag with some other means that you don't have to touch it, or again, touching it, then washing your hands. That might be a good practice to get into. So we'll go back to look at the charts again. The lower one with the blue bands, and this would again consider times during which it would be measurable, which means that these would be the times when it's dangerous to us. SARS-CoV-1 and SARS-CoV-2. Remember, these stand for let's see, I've forgotten right now, but we'll go on from there. So in the aerosol, now this was tested in a way that I don't really understand, but if you read the correspondence, you should be able to understand, provided you have some science background in this area, how this works, how they tested it. But even if we don't, just realize that it does persist in the air for a long time. So after 3 hours, they're very similar in that there's still plenty of virus content around after 3 hours. I don't know if they ran this out longer or not, but this is what they're reporting. Then on copper, these are, remember, this is 0, 1, 2, and 3 hours. On these other charts, it's 0, 20, 40, 60, and 80 hours. So these are longer periods of time. But if you can see the blue charts here with the SARS-CoV-1, after 25, 30 hours or so, it is not detectable any longer. And the good news is that if you happen to have a bunch of copper in your environment, after 20 hours, it's not detectable on copper. However, cardboard, different story. Now, SARS-CoV-1, it's coming around 20 hours, so maybe 1 day or so would be good. But you're not facing that today. We're facing SARS-CoV-2. And even after 40 hours or so, we still have a detectable presence of a virus here. And then we look at stainless steel. Now, if you go into a fast food place, you may find a counter that has stainless steel on it. It's not going to be safe to touch unless it's been immediately sanitized right before you came up to it with, bleach or something like that. So you got to kind of hands off if you're coming up to a place like that. Of course, I don't think you're going to be going to the counter too much. You might be going through a drive-through these days, but not all restaurants have drive-through. Some would be open, like in Los Angeles, where I am currently, but only for takeout. So you'd have to come in and be there with them. So you'd want to keep your hands to yourself pretty much. Even going through the doorway, if there's a stainless steel bar that you have to touch as you push the door open, you're going to want to do that with gloved hands or with a napkin or something that puts a barrier between you and that stainless steel, because it's hanging around a really long time. I'll go back to that graph here, stainless steel way out there, even past 80 hours. So if they clean it once an hour, it's not often enough. It's going to be way up here, before then. And then we have plastic, which goes off the charts, off the charts. Thinking about plastic, that's something to think about. Now, when you pay money, how do you pay? We go back to here. If you pay with pennies, as long as you haven't touched the money and nobody's touched your money and it's made out of copper, it'd be safe to touch after 24 hours. But plastic, I'm going to show you this is my Starbucks card, so it has this little stripe on it. I don't know if you could read the numbers in that. I hope you don't, but I'm just saying this is a piece of plastic about the size of a credit card. This is something that you do not want to hand over to somebody to scan through their thing or work on it. You just want to handle this yourself. So if you're going to put it into the reader yourself, and then you're going to punch the buttons are made out of plastic, and we don't want to have the plastic buttons touching our skin unless we're going to wash our hands before we do anything. So I'm thinking that, having a Kleenex, a napkin, some kind of touching surface to go through would be a good idea. And getting back to cardboard. Cardboard's made out of paper. Paper. Think about it. If we're going to get paper money and change, we're going to need some barrier between us and that. What if I brought along a plastic bag? Now, this one, of course, looks like it's a Walmart brand. Forgive me if you don't like Walmart, but Walmart these days, people might be appreciating. So if we had our plastic bag, I'm just going to go back to our down angle camera. We have our plastic bag, and we opened it up like this, and we had the cashier, a person handing us the money back, instead of handing it to us, that they put it in the bag. It's in the bag, and then we do that. We've got something that's sealed, ready to take home for, a delay, cardboard, 2.5 days later, we could take it out of the bag. Oh, but wait, the bag is plastic, so it's going to be a week later or so, several days later, that we're going to want to take it out to use it for, spending more money. Of course, we could go back into some other restaurant and be mean and, open the Ziploc and dump the 20 out on the counter if that's what we got back and change. That's not good either, because we want to be kind to others. So we got these two things. We got cardboard, we got, there's paper money, we've got plastic payment device, and we got to think of what we're going to do so we don't hurt ourselves or others. Now, it's sort of funny. A month or two ago, I've forgotten how long, I reviewed a product for somebody. I do that sometimes. And the product review was about something called a clean machine. And at the time, we were considering, how does it clean my my CPAP mask? That's plastic stuff. And it does it with UV light of a particular wavelength, I should say. And that UV light focal length, or the wavelength rather, is probably about 260 to 280 nanometers in that range there. So what we would want to do, I'll just show you the clean machine. I'll go back to our down angle camera, and we're going to put this up on this device. Now, of course, you can't see it easily. I'm just going to zoom this lens out so you can see better. So we've got the clean machine, and I don't sell these. I did a review. They happened to give me a machine so that I could review it. And so I said thank you, and we moved on. But I'm just saying that this machine, you just open it up like this. Inside, you notice it has a little plastic hose that sticks out of the side. A lot of reflective surfaces. So if you put something into it, imagine that you got home from your shopping trip and you took your money and you put into this. Or let's say you had your plastic credit card or something, and you put into this. And I'm going to stand it up against that so that the light which comes from the top part up here, I move this a little bit like this. There's a little area where the light will come on when the machine is closed, because you don't want to shine it in your eyes because it would hurt you. So you're going to close the machine. It dings at us, turn it on, and then I'm going to turn on the switch for the light for 15 minutes. And that's going to run for 15 minutes, and that will be a way to treat these surfaces rather, to clean them, to make sure that the viruses are not going to be active anymore. And if there are bacteria or other things, I guess I could also put my iPhone in there. I didn't think of that. I know people have done tests with their phones and find they are just tremendous sources of bacteria and all kinds of icky stuff. So I'm thinking about that. I'll have to run a test, see if it still makes the iPhones work. Anyway, that's the idea. Maybe we can be more careful if we have to go out, if we have to spend money in a store to buy something, to get change and then keep the change cool for a little while, or warm, or however you want to put it, not touching us, not affecting us in a bad way. Maybe sunlight would do the same thing as this clean machine, which is fine. And I just don't know the facts on that, but that's another possibility. Perhaps somebody else will come out with solid information about that, and that would be great. Just want to, again, thank you for watching. This is Richard Lund from Los Angeles, and I called my property Rancho Varna. So it's just the funky place where I live. And I just want to say peace, and we wish you all a safe journey through this life. And may you live a healthy 100 years.